My main interest throughout my schooling was light, color, and illusions. And when I was at Otis, it was the 60s. And I started to work with lucite rod and bending it. So I started to poke holes into the ceramics and inserting the rods. Well, now I had a lamp. And I was also starting to work with neon as a medium and started to make large diameter, 1.5 inch diameter, that at the time was the largest that I was aware of. Then I started to work with lucite sheet, and I found that if I engraved on the surface, light would travel up through it, catch on any, they call it aberrations, on any scratch. And so I started to make cubes that have maybe 13 lucite plates in it. And if you scribe on each plate, depending upon the angle that you're viewing it, you will see a solid. So it's a disappearing sphere. You walk to the side, it disappears. 3/4, you see a solid. Up front, you see a sphere. Anamorphic is a distortion of an image. And in order to see it correctly, you have to stand in a particular position, or you have to use a mirror. And the reflection will correct itself when you look into the mirror. I had an invitation to do a self-portrait, and I didn't want to do the regular, three-dimensional bust type thing. And I thought that I would like to see if I could take a flat anamorphic image and make it three-dimensional. Then came the wave mirror, and I tried to pick a subject matter, so I went to family. And I took some photographs of my niece and nephews and decided that I would manipulate that some way. And so I took the cylindrical mirror, I cut it in half, and I brought the two outside edges together. So now I had an S shape or a wave mirror. And the end result was a standing figure holding a rod that was placed in the concave area. And then the convex portion, the distortion is of a man sitting in a chair, an overstuffed chair, with his feet up on an ottoman. And at the time, I didn't realize that this would be the first advancement of mirrors in anamorphia. And neither did I realize that this is the first time that someone was actually doing three-dimensional anamorphia. That one, I really enjoyed, the end results. And then that led to the series that I'm working on now. And a colleague of mine, we both shared a studio together. She taught story illustration. And after I finished Brothers, I was just chatting with her, and I said, I have no idea what I want to do with this. I said I could do genre pieces, political pieces, and she said, well, naturally you'd want to do Alice in Wonderland. Well, I had never read Alice in Wonderland, and that started to open up a whole new area of investigation. I decided that I was going to do all 12 chapters. Each chapter is a table, and each table is designed specifically for that chapter. And I decided that on one side of the mirror would be the world of reality, and it would be sculpted very realistically. And on the other side, in this dual or parallel universe, would be the world of illusion. First comes the sketch, and then I have to do research. What is English countryside like? What kind of trees? Cottages, what does a cottage look like? How were they dressed? The clothing, costumes of the period. I started, let's say, with the rabbit. Was he tall, short, portly? How would he be dressed? Was he formal, informal? Did he have a monocle? Did he have glasses? Did he didn't wear glasses? The watch was important. So I did these little maquettes, a series, about 5 or 6. And then from those little studies, I'd take one and I did a head, how I thought my rabbit would look like. And then from that, I did a larger size model of my rabbit. And I didn't want to copy exactly Tennille's interpretation. I wanted mine to be, my own. I then had to start to think of how I wanted to stage this. Martin Gardner's Annotated Alice has become a great resource for me. And I tried to incorporate some of that information into the story. And it's kind of like, where's Waldo? Can people find, or do they understand some of the things that they're looking at? Charles Dodson, who was Lewis Carroll, was a Don at Christ Church, and he taught mathematics. But he also liked games and puzzles, and he made nonsense theorems. So I try to hide some of those, not hide them, but I will put them, incorporate them into the story. As far as I know, this will be the largest three-dimensional interpretation of Alice, and to do it in illusion, something that combines mathematics, physics, art, anamorphia, and trying to make something that is an old story, a classic story, and to make it a brand new way of looking at it. And I'm dyscalculic. I can't do math. I do all of this intuitively. I don't use computers, scanners, 3D printing, or CNC milling machines. It's all done, by hand and eye. Next year is going to be the 150th anniversary of the publication of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. So I'm hoping that there's a way to get the work to New York, to get at least some of the chapters that are completed, to participate in the Lewis Carroll Society celebration. I can't think of another thing I'd rather be doing. No, other than maybe coming up with a different mirror, some other type of mirror.